You being open and honest in all of your affairs is what you need to heal, and other people need to hear your story. You are
That's
going
the
to
medicine.
resonate with so many people.
Thanks for tuning in for another episode of the ReMinders podcast. I'm just going lazy today and just got my phone propped up against my laptop. You can see my little reality transurfing sticker here. My world is taking care of me. Everything is going according to plan. Things are working out beautifully and will continue to do so with ease. This is a quote from the sticker in case you're wondering where that was coming from. Where is it? There it is. Isn't that cute? Yeah, check out Reality Transurfing TV. Renee Garcia. If you've ever heard me talk about importance levels and lowering them, lowering importance levels, that's where I got that idea. It was from Renee Garcia. Reality Transurfing. Basically trying to, or attempting to, or making efforts to consciously tune into the timelines that we're experiencing. Yeah. Is this thing on? So I was thinking that it would be funny, potentially. It would be potentially funny if I had like a joke to say in these intros, but that would require me having something to say and figuring out a way of saying it in a funny way. So instead, I'm just gonna muse about how it might be funny if I were funny. What do you think? Yeah, so today's episode, I'm bringing on my new friend Lacey. Lacey and I connected through the Very Ape podcast and Discord community in particular. I've maybe mentioned Very Ape before. Sean and Cass are the hosts. And yeah, it's a really casual, really fun podcast. Highly recommend it. So Very Ape is a podcast as well as filmmakers. So they actually just put out a recent documentary called Wooks, which essentially documents the music festival, the hippie festival scene. I loved the documentary. I've watched it like 4 times. I've shown it to various people. So highly recommend checking that out as well. A new project that they are embarking on is, I can't remember the official title, I want to say The Family Trip. But I heard about through their podcast that they're starting a new series, docu-series, of filming families taking psychedelic medicine together with the intention of facilitating familial therapy. So for the pilot episode, Lacey and her mom take MDMA together, and yeah, I'm super excited to see this episode and see what all unfolds. But we have Lacey on the podcast today, sort of talking about the process and talking about how it has been a part of her own inspiration to be one who facilitates these types of therapeutic sessions with psychedelics. So very exciting stuff. It was a really enjoyable conversation. This was the first time Lacey and I got to talk in real time, outside of text chats and stuff like that. So it was really, really awesome to get to know her a little bit. And yeah, I think we both had a really good time just vibing and chatting about what can potentially be a pretty groundbreaking and a breakthrough type of endeavor in the mainstream to bring these types of medicines to the public in a way that isn't, party vibes, but is centered around healing and in particular family healing, familial, generational trauma that's, being put on the table and looked at and sorted through and felt through. And I'm sure it ended and proceeded with lots of hugs and affection and, self-attention. I think that's really what so much comes down to, is that so many people are starved for attention. And, I was talking about pretending to be funny earlier. And, I love stand-up comedy. It's one of my favorite art forms. And it's pretty clear in that culture that it's a lot of people who have a lot of darkness, and they're catalyzing that darkness into a way of engaging in self-expression that is both entertaining and exciting for other people. Entertaining, but also I'm trying to think of a word for joyous, just the joy of laughter. This is such a beautiful, beautiful experience of being human, to just find ourselves belting out these sounds and these airways. What tickles that in us? It's a beautiful thing about being human, and to be able to do that artfully and skillfully on purpose, evoking that type of response from people is just a really cool art form, in my opinion. But it's also like very clearly like there's a certain type of person psychologically that feels driven to go into such a thing, to go into such an art form or that type of performance. And it's often that we're looking for attention. Like it's often that, people that find themselves in clownish type of roles, like they're not just playing the role of the cosmic jester, like poking fun at the overly serious levels of importance that people have fortified in our reality, where we're taking life so seriously. Not only just like tickling the belly of the beast in that way, but it's also like clearly that we want attention. Like we want to feel love and we want to feel valuable. And if I can make someone laugh, then that makes me feel valuable in a certain sense. And so anyway, I've just been having this thought train lately of giving attention to ourselves, and that giving attention to other people is such a gift. So anyway, that's a half-baked ramble that I could definitely expand on in another time. But yeah, speaking of, just appreciate you sharing some attention with this podcast today. And don't forget to redirect that inward either throughout this process, throughout this podcast, and or afterwards. Give yourself the care and attention that you need. All right, bring it on, Lacey. Let's hear it. So I'm curious, how did you end up getting connected with Very Ape to start out with? Just listening to their podcast and everything.
Yeah, that's something that I think about also, because it's really funny how synchronicities happen. And then before you know it, you're like in it and you're like, okay, that's cool. But I started listening when I was living out in Denver, and I was going through, I feel like, kind of a second midlife crisis at that point. And I just needed something to keep me busy, keep me working, keep me going. And I found the podcast, and I'm really big on like manifestation. It's like, that'd be really cool to be able to meet these people and meet the group and actually be a part of, a tribe of people that are there for you versus, just kind of the flakiness that had been going on in my life. And then I moved back to Missouri, and then they were talking about meeting up in Ohio. And I'm like, well, that is a 12-hour drive, but the kids and I we're amazing car riders and road trippers. So I went up there. Me and my two girls went up there. My son didn't go, but the girls went with me, and the rest is history.
And that was Nelson Ledges, right?
Yeah, the best.
Yeah, so good. I know it's my favorite venue for music festivals. Is the only time I've been there, but
really,
all of my favorite festivals have been at that venue. It just has a magic to the property.
We're going again this summer, and I think it's going to be a yearly in Denver because it truly is the best. And the girls had so much fun, and everybody had fun with the kids too. And I was a little nervous about that, because it's like, I'm going to be the only one with kids, but my kids are cool. My kids really are cool kids. And
heck yeah,
everybody loved them. So
that's awesome. Like
Sean told me, he goes, if you didn't bring the kids, I don't know if it would have been the same, because my kids very much are old souls, and they will conversate with you about pretty much anything, because they've lived difficult lives. I have 10 years of recovery from drugs, so
gotcha.
They've lived a difficult life in their first few years, and because of that, we have a very open relationship. And I chat and talk with them about things, and they also feel like they can trust me and talk about things. So I don't know.
That's
It's just
beautiful.
like, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, you said because of that, you have an more open dynamic. Right before you said that, I was thinking, a lot of times having, difficult past or difficult early childhood years, I feel
Yeah.
like that sometimes catapults people into a deeper awareness of, whatever spiritual journey or
Yeah.
just the psyche kind of needing to develop or mature maybe like quicker
Yep.
than it would if we were in a more comfy, cozy existence for 20 years or whatever, and then start to get privy to
Yeah.
the hardships of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And because of that, they absolutely don't want to do certain things. There are things that they talk about that, I mean, to be quite honest with you, like smoking weed,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with it because I was once their age and I was sneaking out of the house to go do it, or I was lying to my parents to go do it. And doing that went down a very dark road. And it's not like, hey, here, go ahead and smoke. That's not what I'm
Right.
saying. But it's like, let's have these conversations. So when and if you are ready, I'm here for you guys. Like, I don't want you to sneak out to go have fun with your friends. And I want them to be safe. And, there's all these things that go with that. And I'm open to it. I truly am open to them doing that. And them being comfortable with telling me is also really cool, because I
Totally.
did at one point I thought that I had totally messed up everything. So knowing that they truly love me and truly like want to be respectful of my boundaries with them. And they know that they can experience life but not do it unsafely. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a parent, so I can't speak from direct experience, but from friends that I have that have children, and just I'm an older brother, like I'm a little bit older than my younger siblings, 8 years and 14 years.
oh
And
yeah.
I have pretty older siblings too, so just the family structure and everything, just kind of
Oh,
looking at that like guidance that
yeah.
happens. It's like you don't want to make things a taboo or a complex around things, even if it is something that like caution should
Hmm.
be taken in
Hmm.
certain domains. It's like just getting to that level, which I applaud you at, just having like these open conversations with your children, and just
Yeah.
like having that honesty being the foundation that the conversations are happening, not like this disciplinary like just don't do it
Right.
because I said so or whatever
Right. And
the thing is.
that's what my parents did. And when
Yeah.
they would find my stuff, they would take it, but then I would find it literally in this cabinet behind me. I would find it in this drawer and I would take it back.
Yeah.
It's like you're smoking my shit. Like, I didn't understand if it's so bad, then why are you doing it? So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that's it's actually funny
Exactly.
behind me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I didn't want that for my kids. And I didn't want that relationship that I have with my parents. I want to break generational curses. I want them to know that you don't need to hide. You don't need to do that because that results in dishonesty and mistrust. And there's no need for that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's just not a strong foundation to have your life and your relation to life and to family to be, a
Yeah.
foundation that is based on this like sort of game of, am I doing the right thing or am I doing the wrong
Exactly.
thing? Like it should just, like you said, just kind of an honesty and recognizing things as they are.
Yep.
Like you said, these things are going to come up in life, whether
Yep.
you present them to them or not. Like they're
Yep.
going to come across weed, they're going to come across whatever else it may be.
Yep. The oldest
Yeah.
one is 17. So
Oh, there you go.
that's
Yeah.
definitely in his world, right?
Yeah. That's the
I
age.
mean, it's there's no denying it. And it's like you just be responsible. He's thank God, not driving right now. So that's like a good thing. We don't have to cross that barrier, but
Mm-hmm.
he'll be 18 in November. That's a
Wow.
very weird thing to say, but also, I mean, it's life.
Yeah,
I'm here to
exactly.
normalize things. I did this documentary.
Yeah, totally.
So that's
Totally.
crazy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely want to dive into that. But I just want to say another thing that came to my mind is, and you could probably speak more to this, but I feel like the next generation of humans on Earth right now are just like next level. You were talking about your kids just being like old souls and stuff. Like, I don't know. Did you see that too? Do you feel like it's like across the
100%.
yeah.
And with my kids, with their friends, with also being a human design guide, knowing that the year 2027 is going to be a evolution. So there's going to be like our kids and certain types within human design who are here to raise the vibration even more. It's amazing how in tune my kids are. And then also like going on these ayahuasca retreats that I've been going on. I've been told by separate people that my kids all found me. Like and I know that we choose our parents, but at a very cosmic soul level, they chose me. My mom, she had 2 abortions before she had me. And those were my girls that I was told. And I have never told anybody this. And it blew my mind when I was at the last retreat because I'm like, you don't even know this. And I didn't know my mom had 2 abortions. I knew she had one, but she said that. And then I came back and then we filmed the documentary and my mom said that. And I was just like, holy shit. Like my girls were absolutely supposed to be there. And my son, he wanted me to be his mom. That's just how it was. And all my kids it's just amazing talking to my kids about certain things. And I'm like, how do you know that? But you're an old soul. You're supposed to know that. Like you've done this before,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's weird too, because I've lived such a hard life and I've taken them through such hard times that it's like, I'm still trying to figure out what that lesson is, like why did I do that stuff? And for me, it's like maybe having those experiences, I was supposed to have those. So I know how to guide others going through that. And I think I just have to have experiences in my life too. And so that's something that I'm currently like thinking about and like going through. But these kids are amazing. I don't know. They're amazing.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Yeah, and those lessons of the hardships, like, it becomes more clear over time, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I just try to like as often as I can ground myself into the trust of the way things happen, even when they're happening in a unpleasant way
Right.
or when I'm, going through a phase of like just completely like losing that clarity, like even
Mm-hmm.
that is a part of the process. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of my fundamental spirituality is just trust,
Yep.
trust in what is. And not that not to the point that things have to happen a certain way, but just that they happen the way they happen.
Right.
And at some point, we can gain enough self awareness to make more conscious choices,
Absolutely.
to more
Yeah.
consciously
And
choose our timelines, right? But each timeline is perfect
absolutely.
in and of itself.
Yep. And losing control, letting go of the control of forcing things to happen because we're not supposed, some of us in life are supposed to inform, like, I am going to go do this, while others are supposed to respond to our environment. So, literally, just learning to be peaceful and present in the moment will result in me responding to things. So, it's like us having this conversation. I'm absolutely responding to what you're saying, and vice versa. And that also ties into the human design stuff that I've really made valuable. Sorry, my cats are playing, so hopefully that doesn't fall. I have 4 cats, and they're not cats yet. They're kittens. So they're...
Oh, wow. Double trouble.
Oh my goodness. I'm like, why did we do that? Love them all, but I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a lot of energy.
It's so much energy, and they all are... They're so cute, and they all have their own different personality. But I moved this plant, and now they're like, ooh, we get to explore, and there's a mirror right there too. So I'm just like, please be cool, guys.
Keep it cool. Keep it cool, kitties.
Just please be cool. Of course I'm on Zoom, and it's recording right now. Sorry about that.
Trust. There you go.
But yeah, we're all supposed to be responding to our environment in different ways. Like, not all of us are supposed to be informing people what we're doing. We're supposed to respond. Some people are literally supposed to wait for an invitation for things. So it is literally like, hey, do you want to do this with me? And then they can respond a certain way. And then there's others who literally go off of the moon cycle. So it takes some people literally 28 days to 30 days to make decisions about things. So I definitely, and I know that's a tangent right there, so I'm trying to get back onto that. But yeah, that's learning how I respond, how my kids respond, how you respond, how everybody responds within our lives is beautiful and amazing. And that's super why I love doing like the human design stuff, because it really puts in perspective like why I'm here, because that was something that I literally growing up until I was probably 34. It's just like, what's the point? Like, why am I here? Like, what are we supposed to be doing? And with human design, it literally gave me that ease of stop questioning things. Like, what you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing. Answering the calls, like literally getting, like, I have an inner monologue, but hearing a voice, like for my cleaning business, I was sleeping and it was October 4th of 2018. And I woke up and it's like, quit your job, start your own cleaning business. And like, okay. And I literally got up and I called my job. I was like, this is really crazy, but I'm quitting my job. And at that point, I had all the cards against me. Like, there should have been no reason for me to quit the job that I was doing, but I quit. And now, almost 5 years later, it's like I have 2 separate locations and things are flowing. And if I didn't respond to that, like, where would I be?
Yeah, don't even know. Right. Yeah, that can be a challenge for, I'll say people, but really I mean myself, to like trust the intuition and to actually like answer the call,
Yeah. And
Yeah,
actually,
and it's a muscle to strengthen, right? It's just practicing answering the call, saying yes.
Now that we're talking about this, I will look at your human design because I do have it, but I feel like you're a manifesting generator. So when I look at your stuff, I'll send that to you and definitely we'll go over that. And I apologize for being...
No, not at all. Not at all. I was gonna say too, I would love to do a whole nother episode and like really get in deep with human design, because I have so many questions. I'm to even call myself a novice is I'm not even to the novice level. I'm like basically like I know the types, but that's about as far as I go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I would love to dive deep into that.
100%. We can save that for a whole other episode.
Save that. Yeah, we'll save
cool.
that.
We'll get back on.
Cool. So yeah, let's dive into this documentary that was made. So, yeah, just what can you tell me about it? I mean, all I know is from what I've heard from the Very 8 podcast that like this is basically a pilot, right? That they're trying to shop to what, a network? Is it supposed to be like a TV show or?
So yeah, they want to eventually pitch it to the streaming, like Netflix, Hulu, Prime, Peacock, whoever, HBO. I mean, I don't.
Gotcha.
I don't want to go there because I'm like, I literally, we're here, we're doing it. And whether it's YouTube, people are going to watch it. And people who are entrepreneurs, who are mothers, who are recovering drug addicts, who are teachers, like my mom is, who are very public in their communities, can also have such healing in one night doing an MDMA sitting. Like it, and we also did a mushroom, but I think they're focusing more on the MDMA because there was a lot that happened.
Were those separate settings or same day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we did the MDMA here in downstairs here in the living room, and the mushroom trip was at an Airbnb, but that was very gentle. It was very like my mom went to bed. She didn't even she wasn't even awake. So me and Michaela, the facilitator, we just stayed up and chatted. But MDMA, like, where do I even start with that? I had done it a few times beforehand, but that was back with my drug days, so it was different. Like, I don't even count because it was different. This time we had, I just don't even know. It's such a heart opener. Such love, such beauty, and really just all of the monkey mindset, the negativity that you can tell yourself just dissipates. And you're present, but it's literally like the heart chakra is just open.
Blooming, yeah.
And you really can go on like tangents and, oh, this water bottle is so beautiful, like da da da. But like having a facilitator there to ask the questions and we're able to answer them in that setting was amazing.
So it was just you and your mom, right? Took the medicine?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, Michaela also. Because
the facilitator.
Yeah.
Okay. Same dosage.
Yeah, I think I took the most. I'm gonna have to ask how. I don't even remember how much I took, but it was, and I don't know if they're gonna have it in there, but there definitely this eye was just buzzing, just going, twitching. And I remember saying, like, I can't really look out of this eye because it's just going, and
is that a common thing with MDMA? Has that happened to you before?
It did, but they all told me with larger doses that absolutely happens. So Sean and Cass, they both were saying like that happens,
Gotcha.
And I guess the night went just so quickly. I really didn't want it to end. And looking back now, I'm just like, man, I miss come on, girl. I kind of miss having that feeling. Because I was able to talk to my mom about things that we haven't been able to talk about before. And for me, I've been working on myself for so many years that it's like finally she's catching up to what she should be doing and the relief she should be feeling. And having MDMA just escalates your feelings, and it's so beautiful. And there's going to be one part of the documentary where the girls come down, because they can tell that the energy shifted. And from what Cass said is that they were watching the monitor and they're like, we want to go down, so they came downstairs and they just started telling about their perspective on the past and everything. And I cried a lot. Like, I just feel like I cried this whole time. So I haven't watched the documentary yet, so I don't know what to expect, but I really do think that everybody should sit with a facilitator and do a few sessions of MDMA.
Yeah, I feel you. So
Or
I'm
even
curious.
Setting, not even necessarily maybe a facilitator, but people you trust, who you know will be there and even help guide you through things is um is a must.
I was curious about that. Have you had similar like set and setting with MDMA before? Have you had like sitting down with maybe a couple friends or something like that and having it being more of a heart opening? No?
Always going to the bar
Yeah,
and
that's the
just
usual experience,
yeah,
right? Yeah, yeah.
partying.
Yeah, totally, totally.
um I also, even before being asked to be on this documentary last year, I was told again, you must, because I've been microdosing psilocybin for almost 5 years now. That'll be in June. And um, it's changed my whole brain, like how I think of myself and how I think of life in general.
Mm,
Without the mushrooms, I really don't know where I would be right now because they have completely helped me get out of the darkest pit of emptiness that I've ever been in to being completely successful right now. And I'm not even microdosing. I'll microdose every once in a while, but
gotcha.
I don't need to do it, you know? And
Hmm.
from that, I was like, I have to help people. Like, I just, it's everything within me is I have to help people. And that's where it's beautiful, where the documentary comes in, is because, like, oh my gosh, that's going to be coming out. And now I'm having people, my friends, they're asking, like, hey, do you know, can you help? Can how do I get to feeling how you're feeling?
Yeah. Yeah,
Beautiful.
and it's so interesting that we're at this sort of precipice of culture too. I feel like you guys are pioneering a different way of approaching this type of medicine. Work on it medicine. People
Yeah.
call it drugs,
Yeah. No,
illegal
I know. Yeah.
drugs. So, making that transition for the wider public to understand the therapeutic effect. And, we don't even need to get into all the history of why these things have been
Right.
demonized and all that legally. That's a whole dark history, of course, too,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
But it's really inspiring and exciting to see this vision of the future of this being more of a accepted. And I mean, you and I already know that it's very powerful medicine.
Yeah.
So getting that word out
Yeah.
is going to be extremely valuable.
It's really when you say it, it kind of just like makes me nervous again because I've always watched like Vice or Hamilton, or just all these people who are absolutely doing what they need to be doing and providing. Like, I'm into that stuff. But then when it comes to people I know, they're like, no, I have no idea. So I'm like, how many people don't know about this stuff? And pioneering, that's a very big word. Like, there's a lot that goes
Yeah.
behind that, like,
Yeah.
and I asked for it though. Like, I truly have asked for a tribe of people that I can call family, because even though I have my family, it's like a little bit different. I want a tribe of people who are my friends and family, and I want to be able to guide people through what I've gone through and help them and realize, like, I have all of these things, outward things going for me that um I don't want to lose, but I also can integrate what I'm doing every day to let people know, like, it's not that bad. And I have clients who work at the courthouse and stuff like that I used to get in trouble in, that, like, my kid's dad has been to prison for weed and I've been in trouble for, drugs and stuff like that. And now it's like coming full circle to a different angle on it. And there are repercussions on that too, so it's like I am definitely taking a risk, but I'm willing to do that because if it can literally change how society and the people who make the rules, if there could be some change in that and possibly be a part of that, like, I'm here for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it is a big word and pioneering, and but luckily, like it's no one individual that's doing it
Right.
themselves. Like
Right.
we're part of this community, and it's not even just the inner circle community that we're aware of or in direct connection with. Like this movement is happening across the world. And it
Mhm.
has been for decades, but we're at a more exciting, more transparent
Yes.
moment in it where it does feel like we're at this sort of precipice.
Yep.
So definitely keeping like the heart and mind open for that like more ideal timeline,
Yes.
because like you said, anything can happen. But I think if we trust where we're putting our feet and where we're
Yep.
putting our actions, I think that I think that because of how powerful it is in and of itself, and not just MDMA, but just family healing,
Yeah.
psychedelics in general, those two domains and the Venn diagram of where they connect, that's all so powerful and so needed, so
Hmm.
valuable right now. So I think that will carry through. And I think, just like you were talking about how, what's the lesson and the hardships that we go through. I think on a societal level, the whole war on drugs has been this like hardship that we've gone through so that we can hopefully like spring forward and catapult into a deeper clarity about it on a communal level.
Yes.
So,
We're not here to be putting people away anymore. Like that's just digging and ripping families apart and not helping anybody. Like that's not, now, of course, there's certain cases, right? Like that people probably should go to jail for, right? And I understand that if you're using it maliciously, but if you're not, like, I just don't understand. I don't see the point. I do know bad people who do deserve to be there, and then I also know people who's like just trying to put food on the table. They're not doing anything to harm anybody,
mhm.
and it's like now they're a felon for the rest of their life. Like it just doesn't make sense, you know.
Yeah,
And
it's messed up. I mean, it's tragic,
it
honestly.
is tragic. It's 100% tragic. Like people, I don't understand why, like some cases I get it, but most cases no. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. And there needs to be a new narrative. We don't need to be scared of things. And um that all comes with like testing our product and making sure we have reliable sources and not just getting it off the street from just anybody, like you do need to be safe about the things you do and the people you are with. And there are those people out there who are doing bad, deceitful things, and it is ruining, families and family structure. And I get that. But that's also, you have to be safe with everything you do.
And even that needs to be approached in a more recovery minded way, I think. I mean, even people that are doing from petty crimes to violent crimes, I think that all crime is a cry for help,
Yep.
really.
Yep.
People aren't I don't. Believe that they're evil people.
Right.
I think that
Right.
there are people, and people are very adaptive and malleable, and based
Yep.
on the life experiences that we have, that's what shapes our personalities and our behaviors and actions and feelings and thoughts. And so if we've been dealt a really hard hand of cards in life, that's naturally going to manifest in, yeah, you know what I'm
Keeping
getting at. But
you right
when we're
here. Exactly. Like you stay in this bubble and
yeah,
you can't get out. And there's a lot of pockets all over of literally neighborhoods, communities where you will never get out of this box. Like you will just be here. And there's absolutely people who get out of it, but it's like, this is it. This is where you're at. And some of you will be able to get out and make a life for yourself. But it's hard when that's all you know. And that's
exactly.
all you've been shown is like, this is it. And
And it's usually a dog eat dog type of competitive, like
100%.
aggressive environment.
Yes.
So that's a going to breed more aggression and more
Yes.
confusion, more disconnection,
And
and
and then that's why we have these rules. The war against drug is because of those people. It's like, yeah, but also you set these parameters.
exactly. Yeah. You created the problem
You
and
created the
created a
problems.
shitty solution to it.
Exactly. It's like fail.
Yeah. On all accounts. And again, it's tragic. I mean,
Yeah.
like entire lives have been
Yeah.
basically sacrificed as casualties to this war on drugs, and otherwise. I mean, we could get into a whole conversation about the prison system, which
Oh
we don't
yeah.
have to get deep
We don't.
into.
No,
But
yeah.
I think, like I was saying, like any crimes, I think that people are needing healing and needing recovery and needing experiences like what we're talking about, where we're able to firsthand reach this depth of presence and
Yep.
depth of open-heartedness, open-mindedness, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
We all have different wounds, so we need a little bit of a different flavor of medicine or whatever, different
Yep.
experience to integrate that, to make sense
Yeah.
of it.
That's why I'm thankful that Sean and Cass asked us to be a part, because I didn't. We were just talking when we were at Nelson's. Like, there was no. When I was sitting in bed in Colorado, like by myself, without my kids, just very alone, trying to get literally to the next day, I would dream and think of helping people. Like, I know this is very temporary in my life. I want to help people. Never did I think 3 years later, talking to go get a drink with Sean, I don't know, 100 steps, that would result in, hey, we really think that you and your mom, your family, should be a part of this. When they asked, I'm like, holy fuck, okay,
Was it
okay.
an immediate yes?
Oh, it was a hell fucking yes. Like, absolutely. Because again, it's just full circle for me personally, coming from the very dark pits to now I'm thriving. And of course I want to have my life story, shown, because I've been through a lot of things. That's cool. But then also there's going to be a generation, an older generation, that's going to see my mom. She's in her 60s and early 60s, and she's very like straight laced and doing her thing. But it was really cool to have that opportunity to sit with my mom and have that, and people have her point of view. So people who are like her will have her point of view, and people who have been through my things will have my point of view. And neither one of us are crazy. Neither one of us are, doing anything outside of social norms, but like,
But still real life, real people.
period.
Yeah.
Period. Getting up, going to work, doing our thing, taking care of kids, paying bills, doing all the same stuff. It's like, if we can do it, you can absolutely do it and have relief from your experience. And I think everybody should trip with their parents. Like, it's like a 12-step program. You should do the 12 steps, even if you're not an alcoholic or a drug addict. You should do the 12 steps because you get something out of that.
Yeah.
But you should also sit in ceremony, like whether that's psilocybin, MDMA, ayahuasca. I fully am that person who's like, sit in ceremony.
Yeah, I'm with you for sure.
Yeah.
So what was your mom's take on it? Was she at all resistant to the idea? Was she gung ho? Like,
She was absolutely said yes. And then the closer we got to it, she got really nervous, and then after taping, she was like, oh, a little bit nervous. But I think, like I told her, it's like, Mom, she's really good at disassociating, and I told her, I said, we're not gonna tell them, take this out, take that out, take this out. Like, you being open and honest in all of your affairs is what you need to heal, and other people need to hear your story.
Yeah,
You are
that's
going
the
to
medicine.
resonate with so many people. And I told her, I said, you just need to be, you've done it. We've done it. Like, and there's going to be opportunity for more, in the future. And like, she was nervous. She was very nervous, but like, I'm just trying to kind of hold her hand, let her know, like, we're good. Like, this is changing. This is who knows what it's gonna do? Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, I try not to think too big on that because I'm like, I already know the reach that they have with their stuff. And then to have a mother-daughter doing it, like, I think that's really cool. And I feel like I've seen stuff like this, but maybe I haven't, like, I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe it's a future memory.
Yeah.
Of the series that's in bloom here. So, I mean, I'm really excited to see this particular part of it, but I'm also excited to see it grow. And if they can make it a full series, I just think that would be so powerful.
I'm so excited for them.
Yeah. So had your mom had any psychedelic experience or anything like that prior, or?
In college, she sat with some mushrooms, her and her friends did, and she had a great time, but nothing other than that,
Yeah, gotcha.
She doesn't even like smoke weed well, she doesn't handle that well. So
gotcha.
But she handled it really well. And it was like, at one point, it's like, okay, we started on the couch and we're all just kind of sitting there like prim and proper. And then we all just kind of melt to the floor, and just like get loose with it. And she's standing up like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have a rod just right through my back and I'm sturdy and strong. It's from my point of view. So, and I almost kind of forget like what was happening during it, So when we watch it, I'm going to be very much like, oh my gosh, because I really don't even, I just remember sitting and crying a lot and talking to Michaela and then group hugging with my mom and kids. And I think everybody was able to get things out. But I took more than everybody. So I was really in kind of my own world too. So it's going to be new to me too,
Yeah. Super cool. Cool. What has the integration process been like for you after the fact? Do you feel like you and your mom still have like that level of like, I mean, obviously you have this shared experience and like you bonded deeper and like more transparent than maybe for a while before that. I'm making a guess, but do you feel like it's easier to just have that level of like transparency now?
Yes, I do. I also feel like some of my past insecurities with some of the things my mom does is popping up, which is fine. We live together right now, but me and the kids are moving and she'll be moving at the end of the month. So,
gotcha.
Not that it's bad or anything like that, but for me, it's like I've always had to be open and honest with everything I do. So if I feel some type of way, because I'm very intuitive when things happen, then I do feel some type of way. It's like, it's okay that you have a past. And, so she used to be a very big drinker, for, I don't even know, like 20, 25 years, something like that. And, there was probably 10 days afterwards where she didn't. And I'm great. And I also understand, being a recovering addict, that it normally doesn't happen the first time. Sometimes, some people it does, and I'm super grateful that it does. But it takes a few times for people to get off of that. And for me, it's just like, be honest with me. I'm going to be 38. Like, I don't need to be lied to. I also understand, having gone through my own recovery, it takes a few times. And I think she doesn't want to let people down. So it's like she has her own way of handling things, which is fine. But I also, going through all of like my ayahuasca retreats and all of these things that I've been doing to fix me internally, because I was so messed up, that I know it's okay to be honest. Like, yes, I've had a few drinks, and I don't understand why she doesn't well, I guess I do understand that she doesn't want to look like she's failing, and she's not failing. She's just being human and living the existence that she's living, and that's fine. And it's okay because we do stumble and we do fall, but I'm here to support, I do think that her and I should sit with another sitting of MDMA soon.
Almost in the same vein of what you said about like recovery, sometimes it takes a couple swings before you really knock it out of the park, So yeah, I could totally understand that. And just having like a first session of like the novelty and excitement of like, whoa, this is super sweet, whatever. We're like vibing together. We haven't been able to talk like this in forever, whatever it may be. But then another session of like, hey, let's actually like get into, and of course I don't know how deep you guys got in the first session, but just how I might conceptualize about it. I think maybe
you did pretty well. Like
could maybe get a little bit deeper into the weeds of certain things, or maybe a specific intention. Like I want to work on this one shadow. Like, why am I doing X, Y, and Z or whatever, And, one thing I was just thinking when you were saying that is like how toxic and insidious shame is, It takes so many different forms of like wanting to please people, not wanting to let people down, that type of thing. But like you were talking about, like just being honest about your story, like that is the medicine, is being honest, So that self-honesty, honesty with the community, even though it can feel embarrassing, and I get that, but just moving past the shame and guilt, because those are such just toxic, very low states to be in, and it's unfortunately like kind of an epidemic. You know what I mean? Like it's
shame and guilt. Like those are two things that I literally, my first ayahuasca retreat, I literally had those demons in me, and the shaman exorcised those out of me. And I know it sounds really crazy, but literally the taste of sulfur came out of my mouth. He put his hands on me twice, and my self-hatred was gone, and that anxiety was also gone. So I haven't dealt with that. Like, it is what it is. Like, the past happened, and we don't have to like keep that with us, because that's definitely depression. And we don't have to worry about the future, because that's super anxiety, and nobody needs that in their life. Like, you have to plan for things, right? But you don't have to fixate on things. And just really, it's like being present. And for my mom, she needs to know that I'm here for her. And I hope she does, because it's like we moved in together. We've been together for almost a year and a half now by the time we move. And she's been able to watch me every day grow. And because we haven't had that great of a relationship for a long time, like my entire family stopped talking to me and shunned me. And I was just my own wolf doing my own thing. And something happened to where my last bad relationship I was in, they finally realized, like, okay, we need to stop shunning her, because there's no reason. And I took everybody back. Like, I really was just like, I'm done with all of you guys. Like, I don't care if you're my mom. I don't care if you're my grandma, aunts, whatever. But then it's like, I'm a shitty person if I do that, and I don't want to be like them. So I'll be cool, and I'll let that veil down, and I'm here for you guys. Like, no matter what. And that's also another thing with my kids is there is nothing that you tell me that I will ever call the cops on you for, shun you for, kick you out of my life. Like, I might be mad, but there is nothing. Like, my love for you is ever undying. Like, I will infinite love, infinite care, infinite respect for you guys, because I don't want them, they've already felt some type of way in their little lives, but I don't want them to feel what it's like to have your entire family like cut you off because you needed help. Because I needed help, I didn't need to be shut off. I needed help, but I found that through like my supervisor. Like, I didn't know her, and she took me in, and then I found mushrooms, and then it's like, okay, I can do this. I will work on me, and I will get to the very best version of myself that I can be, to where it's like, undeniable that I've actually worked on myself, you know.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Not just a mental accolade or something, but like you're proving it in your actions and your behavior and your
Internally,
energy, and
yes,
all those things.
everything,
Yeah. I
everything.
love that. Yeah, it goes back to what we were talking about with like the prison system of like,
Mhm,
people need help, and we just
mhm.
unfortunately have so little structuring in our society around like support systems
Yep,
the real stuff. We have so
yep.
many structurings for how to get food to you as quick as possible, and
Yep,
how to do all this frivolous stuff. We've got so much infrastructure for that. But
yep.
then when it comes to like self-discovery and support and working through emotional hangups and patterns and whatnot, like that stuff is just sent to the fringes and basically like made a taboo.
Yeah,
You've mentioned ayahuasca a few times, that type of thing too. Like that's still, I mean, that is becoming more, in the mainstream
mhm.
conversation a little bit more these
Have
days.
you sat?
No, I haven't. Mm-mm.
Mm,
Yeah, it's been one of those things that, like, yeah, once I heard about it, when I was a teenager or whatever, like, it's like, okay, I
mhm,
could definitely see that being very healing for me.
mm.
I'm a human, I've got shadows,
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm aware that I need to work through stuff for sure.
yeah,
But yeah, I never wanted to seek it out, and that's kind of been my relationship with all of the things
yeah.
psychedelics, in particular. I'm just waiting for them to come to me, and they do,
Yes.
and I try to echo the call when they do.
I love it.
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I get scared. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
no.
I say that more just to be funny. But like, no, seriously, I think when it ever like really does call to me, I
Yep,
take the call.
yep. I fully understand that. Like our ego will tell us like, "Ooh, we're going to have to open up that demon. We're
Yeah.
going to face that." And it's like, "Yep, and you'll be okay too." Like it it's really crazy. Not crazy. It's amazing, especially this last retreat. I was able to work through like sacral cleansing, which was really amazing. And I was able to let trauma go out of my body. And I literally shook for the daytime ceremony was probably 6 hours. And 4 of those 6 hours, I was just like shaking trauma out. But I was very present of everybody else. And for ayahuasca, you want to go inward and go within, but I couldn't help but be a part of everybody else's journey.
Mm.
And it's truly amazing just watching everybody go through it. Like everybody goes through their own journey, and it's not the same journey. You and I will not go through the same journey, even though we may be sitting across from each other. Like you're going to go through your thing, and I'll go through mine. And you might see something scary. You might go through something scary, but always know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And the shaman and the energy workers, they will not let you stay in that. Like they definitely know when it's time to move the energy for you, and they will move it.
Mm.
There's beautiful music, and we have a guitar player, and we have sound bowls, and like everybody does their own thing. And it's just, when I say it's a tribe, I truly mean that it is a tribe of people. And I literally thank God for answering that manifestation or prayer, because I mean really they're the same thing. And um I'm just thankful. Like
Hmm.
I'm so thankful because I now am like asking people, or not asking, but hey, here's the information. You do with it what you want. Just know I'll be there, whether I'm sitting
Hmm.
on the mat or volunteering. Like you'll see me at these because that's how passionate I am of helping people.
That's beautiful.
I love it.
It reminded me of something else I wanted to say when you're talking about family,
Mhm.
the unconditional love, and like you were talking about towards your kids, like no matter what you say, like I'm not gonna shun you, like I'm here for you no matter what,
Yeah.
type of deal. And it's that no matter what. Like I was just having a conversation with a buddy a couple nights ago, And he was sort of representing like the more traditional take on even just like relationships and stuff,
Mm,
and sort of as a rebuttal or response to what is kind of the new agey type of just cut toxic people out of your life if they're toxic ever. Just cut them, whatever. And I think that there's probably a healthy middle ground between those two things,
yeah. Yeah.
versus loyalty and just like
Yes.
whatever you would call the other thing,
Yes.
rigorous cutting people out of
Yep.
your life or whatever. And yeah, it was just an interesting thing to hear him say, because again, there are situations where you need to take space,
Yep.
maybe not cutting someone out of your life entirely, but to take space from a
Yep.
dynamic is necessary for healing and for self-discovery. But yeah, there is something to be said for that unconditional, like, I'm gonna be here for you no matter what. And I think that's sort of like a default expectation with family. But we
Mm,
have the opportunity to also gift that to people that we, our chosen family,
exactly.
and that's just such a beautiful thing,
Yes.
unconditional love and acceptance. And I just feel like that doesn't get represented enough in our current culture. It's much more of the
Yeah.
individualist, just like, take care of you, honey.
And literally, I was that person. Like, I have already grieved your guys' deaths, even though you very much are alive and living and doing well. Like, I'm done with you guys, because when I needed help, you guys just called the cops on me and got rid of me versus like taking me to rehab. We have several of those in town, but I understand parents' side of the coin. Like, they were watching me kill myself, and that's and I have 3 kids, like the last thing that anybody needs is for me to be gone. And then I have totally disrupted and made everybody completely sad. And I took a long time for me to tell them thank you for that. But I do thank them for that, because that put me on a road of, okay, you really messed up, Lacey, but go to rehab for a year, which I fell short of a year, but went to rehab and got everything I needed out of there. And then I had to be held accountable by the courts. So it's like they called my phone and I would have to go take a drug test. It didn't matter if it was every day of the week. I had to go do it, and they'd call and I had to be there in 15 minutes. So I was held accountable for a very long time. And then I did NA and AA and all these things. And then I got a job, and I was open and honest with my employer about what I had done. And they gave me an opportunity, which then led me to all my other opportunities, to where now it's like I'm self-employed, and I, you know, will also hire people who need help, and I understand what that means. And just they need one person to um, believe in them.
Yeah.
And it's like, I do, like, I understand. And as far as family goes, it's like, that's also why I'm doing all these retreats and doing all of this like internal psychedelic work. It's like, because that gets me out of my ego and out of me. And it's like, okay, without them, there would be no me. And without me, there would be no kids. And we all have same lineage. And
Mhm.
regardless of my feelings, like, I do love them and I do cherish them and I do appreciate their hard love. And it might not make sense, but it is what it is. And letting go of that stuff has helped with psychedelics. Like, I will never get on prescription pills. Um, I won't do that. And going through ayahuasca and even MDMA, it makes you feel those things, but you work through it. Like, you literally purge that stuff out. And
Yeah, it's
you
not
don't,
just masking.
yeah, yeah. And I don't, my mom doesn't, whoever sits, you don't have to keep letting that be a thing. You have choice,
Mhm.
and you've worked through it. Now let that shit go. Like, it's done.
Yeah, and the value of psychedelics is that sometimes that's what it allows you, is a chance to see your
Hmm.
stuff from a vantage point where you recognize that you do have a choice.
Yep.
Because a lot of times we're lost in the weeds, we're lost in
Yes.
the, yeah, just we're too close to the situation, we're too deep in a groove, and that's one
Hmm.
of the things that psychedelics can do, is just sort of like reset the grooves. You can see that you have a clean slate to work with. Okay,
Yep.
yeah, you do have these patterns. These grooves are going to come back after
Yep.
this experience,
Yep.
but now you have a reference point that you can create other.
Exactly.
But I think that's where facilitation comes in and comes into the conversation in my mind, is to do it consciously in the process of going through a psychedelic experience, and also in the integration and the
Yes.
aftermath, checking in with people and being like,
Yes.
or setting up some sort of structure for how are we going to make different choices? How are we going to recognize our triggers when they occur? And how are we going to create space and ability to act differently than we are habituated to do, And I
That's
think that's
everything
where
that
the
I'm
real
working
work
on
is.
now is like facilitating, because I know how to do it while we're in ceremony, but
Hmm.
it's definitely the aftermath that's really important. Is we're not going to just sit and go through all this work and then I'm going to drop you off and that's it. Like, let's have a month of integration,
Yeah.
or, if you need 6 weeks of integration, of weekly integration, whatever that looks like for you, then that's what I'm here for. Because I don't want anybody to go through such a profound experience and then just like, what do I do with it?
Exactly. Yeah. 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 And
Yeah.
that can be dangerous for people sometimes too, is to
Mm-hmm.
have such a powerful
Mm-hmm.
experience and then just be sort of disoriented and knocked off of being grounded into the reality that we're in,
Exactly.
So yeah, that's huge too. So yeah, you mentioned wanting to get into facilitating. Where are you at in that process? Like, are you working with other facilitators to sort of learn, or yeah, tell me about that.
I am, which I'm super excited for.
Cool.
I was actually connected with somebody in the city who I'll be sitting with at the end of the month, and just kind of taking things that I like from all the retreats that I've been on too, like integrating those into what I'm doing, but also like growing my own stuff like that, because I know
Gotcha.
where they're coming from and I know the love that I'm putting into them. And then knowing healthy sources to get other things from too. But yeah, it's just kind of like putting pen to paper for the integration. Like, what type of questions, what type of structure do I want with that afterwards? And as a generator with human design, I know that I need to respond to things and what lights me up. So it's like, I'm not in a rush to do the I'm not in a rush to do the facilitating, because I want to make sure that I am showing up fully. However, I do sit with my friends. I'm sitting with people who are first timers, and I've had really good success so far. I mean, it's very in its infancy stage, but
Mhm.
it's happening. So
That's really exciting.
yeah, yeah. It's amazing how things happen. Like, I really, I don't know. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, it gets to that point, doesn't it? You just
Yeah,
gotta sit back and be like, wow,
yeah,
gratitude.
yeah, yeah. Like, I
Aw.
am not in control, and that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof. That's a big one. That's a huge psychedelic and spiritual merit badge, just to get to that point of, you know what? I've been a control freak all my life, or maybe just surrounded by control freaks or something.
All the
there's
above.
there's nothing that I need to control. Like, we're taken care of by by the mystery of the moment. We're taken care of.
Yeah, that gives me shivers when you say that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's powerful. It is powerful, and it's so easy to forget, but it can also be
Mhm.
really easy to remember too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
And I think people have to have, because people say coincidences. It's like, let's not use that word. Everything is a synchronicity, and I think it all is supposed to happen when it's happening, how it's happening, and where. Like, all of the who, what, when, where, why. It's all synchronistic. And if it isn't meant to be, that doesn't mean it's not. It's you're forcing something to happen where it needs to just flow. And that timing is not the right timing.
Right. It's like having a seed for a plant and you put it in the ground and you're just so, I need this fruit.
Right.
I need this fruit. Well, you're not going to get it by poking at the seed in the soil. You got to give it what it needs. Time, sunlight, patience, water. You know, you can insert whatever metaphors makes sense for you there. But.
Yeah. But it's still not going to work when you want it to work. You know?
Yeah. It's on its own timing. Yeah. Trust the timeline for sure. Cool. Well, this has been really amazing. Thank you so much for doing this, Lacey. I really appreciate you coming on.
I hope I didn't go on too many tangents.
Like I said, I love tangents. It's part of natural conversation. I try to, you know, in conversations to try to keep what I call the spine of the conversation. I try to keep it in the back of my mind. So if we get too far out, I feel like I'm pretty good at reeling it back in.
You definitely are, and I appreciate that. I'm like, what did I get off on that? Like really back in, please.
Yeah. But I have noticed that with some people. That's why I make a point to say it in the beginning. It's like some people are like, oh shoot, I'm getting off on a tangent, and then they get nervous. And it's like, no, dude, it's totally fine. Like, it's a natural flow. Like we want it to be organic.
Yes.
But anyway.
Sean, you're amazing. I honestly I'm open for more conversations in the future too.
Me too. Yeah.
I'm also wanting to start my own podcast, and that's something that it's taken me a while, but this is the year where I'm supposed to be putting it out. And Mayor told me that. So I 100% believe what Mayor says. And I do know, like, intuitively, instinctually that that's happening. So at that point, I would love to have you on too, because I'm here for it.
Heck yeah. Yeah, me too. I love that. Let me know if there's any way I can help support. If you
Cool.
Anyway.
Thank you.
So one way I like to end the episodes is just asking if there's anything that you want to highlight from the conversation, and or anything that you wanted to say that you didn't get a chance to say.
If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns about psychedelic use and how to integrate that, I would love to be able to answer any questions or be available for that, because I do believe this is the way of the future too, and for a lot of people. And I would love to be able to help people through that. So maybe I could put my Instagram or Facebook stuff in. I don't know if you have a comment section or whatever, but
I'll put it in the description.
I want people to know that even if you want to have questions answered, I would love to open up that that dialogue, and that communication is so important. So
absolutely
here for that.
Sweet. Thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, what is your IG handle?
So I have a couple of them. I will do Living in Alignment HD for Instagram. And then Lacey Gemini Fun also on Instagram. I have a couple different ones because I post different things, but really they're the same because I don't switch things up when it comes to that. But I have my workout stuff that I'm doing, and my human design, and just family life and all the above. But yeah, cool. That's where people can reach me at.
Sweet. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So excited.
All right. Sweet. Thanks, Lacey.